We start off this morning with Morgan State University head coach Fred Farrier. Morgan State fell last weekend at Marshall of Conference USA, and the Bears will have a bye this week and won't see action until September 24th against Howard. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning.
Last week, Coach, Morgan State came out with a bang on their first possession. They forced a turnover, drove to the Marshall 30 before being stopped on fourth down. Right before halftime, you had two more scoring drives deep in Marshall territory that stalled due to turnovers. Could you just talk about how to eliminate your turnovers and the potential of the offense if once everything comes together?
Yes, absolutely. It was definitely a tough game for us. Marshall's an outstanding, very well-coached football team with a lot of really good football players. And, we felt good about what our game plan was, to have a chance to move the ball down the field, have a chance to score. And at times, we did that. The big thing for us is, just like you said, eliminating turnovers and eliminating the mistakes that we make. As I go back and I watch the film and our coaches evaluated the film, there's several opportunities throughout the course of that game, starting with the very first play of the game, where we've got some stuff game planned and some opportunities to make some plays, and we miss them. We missed a wide open receiver on the very first play of the game going up the seam, which would have either been an opportunity to score or put us inside their 10-yard line, which, gives you a much different start and a much different momentum swing to the game. The turnovers are definitely unacceptable. It's something that we work on every single day in practice with, our ball security drills and different things like that. And when you get into a point where you're committing turnovers in a game, it's a lack of focus, it's a lack of discipline, just trusting your coaching and doing the things that you're asked to do on a regular and consistent basis. So we've got to continue to coach them. We've got to continue to harp on the things that are important, those small details of ball security and squeezing the ball high and tight and different things like that. And, if we can protect the football and find a way to continue to move the ball in the red zone, we'll have a chance to score. But we can't shoot ourselves in the foot with turnovers. We can't do things that are outside the scheme of what we're trying to execute on offense or defense. And, we've got to find a way to finish drives. And I think as we just continue to get better as an individual and as a team, I think we'll have a chance to do that as the season moves on.
Last week, two quarterbacks played. Was that by design, or is the competition still open?
Not necessarily by design. Chris Andrews took a lot of hits in that game, and, we got to a point where we were down in the score, and we have a younger kid, DeAndre Harris, who at some point in time he's going to play for Morgan State. So we wanted to get him some valuable game reps. He did some really nice things in the second half, completed some passes, and made some really good reads in terms of things that we asked him to do. A few mistakes still in there, but the value of getting him live game reps against a quality opponent, I think, is very important. And, as the game went on and the score kind of got out of hand, we wanted to just try something different and see if DeAndre could give us a spark to move the ball down the field. And when he went in, we had a couple of decent drives where we moved the ball down the field again, ended drives and turnovers, turned the ball over way too many times. But, even for DeAndre, he does a few things that are just simply outstanding, and then there's one or two times where, he looks like a true freshman, and we've just got to keep coaching him, and hopefully he'll mature and develop as the season goes on to where at some point in time this season we will call his number, and hopefully he can go in a game and win a game for us, as we move along in the MEAC schedule. But both of those guys are always going to have an opportunity to be the quarterback. We've got to find the guy who continues to give us the best opportunity to move the ball, get first downs, keep the clock rolling, and give our defense a chance to rest. And, right now, Chris Andrews is our quarterback. He's got a few little knick-knack things we got to get him healed up in this bye week. So this bye week is very important for us. And, his confidence will be just fine, and we'll move forward with Chris as the quarterback. And at the time when we call DeAndre's number, he'll be ready to go.
And lastly, Coach, what do you expect to do during the bye week in terms of on-the-field preparation and off-the-field preparation?
Well, I think, number one, it gives us an opportunity to heal up a few small injuries. We had two pretty competitive games, Holy Cross and Marshall, where we got a few knick-knack injuries, nothing where people are lost for the season, but just the value of an extra day off, I think, is important at any point in time once you played a couple of pretty physical games, and the games we played in were both very physical. So we'll use it as some time to get a few extra treatments in with our athletic training staff. We'll use it as a time to watch some more film and just continue to make corrections, and then we'll get a jump on our preparation for Howard. They're the next opponent up. It gives us a few extra days to watch and evaluate their film and try to find some things that we can do successfully against them. They've got some really good players, and we'll need every minute of the extra days to prepare to the best of our ability to have a chance to win the game. So, the bye week is outstanding. It comes at a good time. You like to have one early just like this and one kind of in the middle of the MEAC schedule because it's a very demanding schedule playing week to week in the MEAC. But we'll take the bye week when we can get it. We'll do some rehab and some rest, and then we'll get a jump on our preparation for Howard.
Well, thank you, Coach. That concludes all of my questions. So we will now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. If you'd like to register a question, please press the 1 followed by the 4. On your telephone keypad, you will hear a 3-tone prompt to acknowledge your request. If your question's already been answered and you'd like to withdraw, you may press 1-3. And if you are using a speakerphone, please lift your handset before entering your request. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, for any questions, 1-4 on your telephone keypads now. One moment, please, for the first question. And our first question comes from the line of Mike Klingeman with Baltimore Sun. Please go ahead.
Coach, what's the bigger concern, allowing 62 points or being shut out?
Both of them are unacceptable. So whichever way you look at it, if I'm the head coach to not score any points is unacceptable, and to give up 62 is unacceptable. So there's no easy way around 62-0. We've got to find a way to make corrections to where we get an opportunity to get off the field. We've got to do some things where we don't turn the ball over and give ourselves a chance to score. Going into a game like that, we felt like we had some opportunities to stop them at times and some opportunities to score. And at the end of the day, we did not get that done, and that responsibility falls on my shoulders. I did not do a good enough job getting our guys mentally and physically prepared to play in that game, and that responsibility falls on my shoulders. And I've got to find a way to make sure our guys are locked in, that they understand the game plans respectively on offense and defense and special teams, and that they're put in a position to go out there and execute those game plans successfully. At times a few of the scores that Marshall made are some just outstanding physical plays. We've got guys in some similar positions, some pretty good positions, and they've got to make a play. We've got to coach our guys to where defensively you can take the right footwork, you can be in the right position, and then at the time when the ball gets there, the ball arrives, you got to play with a level of confidence that allows you to look for the ball and make an effort to make a play. And at times we got in position, but then we were afraid or not confident enough to actually look for the ball and try to make a play on the ball. We're just kind of holding on, trying to make sure we don't get beat. And we've got to play to win instead of playing not to lose. And at times we played not to lose, and we've got to find a way to develop that confidence in our guys. Offensively, at times we moved the ball. I mean, we drove down, and on the 5-yard line we fumbled the ball. Just simple ball security. We're got a nice play call. The kid opens up wide open. He turns upfield. He's on the 4-yard line, and he doesn't put two hands on the ball. And the ball pops up, and they take it back 96 yards for a touchdown. It's almost embarrassing. And they were a good football team, but I don't know that we don't feel like the score speaks for itself. So there's no way around the score, but we don't feel like, and I don't feel like that we are a 62-0 football team to get beat like that. And we've got to find a way to correct our mistakes. I've got to find a way to get our coaches coached up to where they're pushing and demanding the things that we need to demand from our players on offense and defense and special teams. I mean, we gave up 3 scores on offense from fumbles and turnovers, and that's completely unacceptable. And I've got to find a way to correct that and get that back in the right spot by the time that we were ready to play Howard.
Is it something you tweak, or is it something that you have to redo, like tear down and start over?
No, I definitely don't think it's a need to panic. What we've got to do is we've got to keep doing what we're doing. And our kids have to trust their coaching. They have to believe. You know, our mantra this year is believe. And our kids have to believe in themselves, first of all, believe in their teammates, secondly, believe in our coaching staff and what we're doing. And the things that it takes to be successful really don't change. And we're going to continue to push those points home. We're going to continue to demand the things that we believe are going to help us be successful when we step out on football fields on Saturday. And we've got to keep hammering those points home. We're not going to change course. We're not deterred by, you know, unsuccessful results. And most good football teams at some point in time, you know, you go through some difficult times. And, you know, I talked to our team on Saturday. You know, a lot of times you'll go through difficult and tumultuous times, not necessarily as a punishment, but sometimes as a cleansing to get ready for what's coming next. And, you know, we had to weather the storm of what we went through in those first two games. We got to learn from those mistakes that we made. And now we got to continue to make corrections and get ready to go into the MEAC schedule. So we're gonna adjust some things. We're gonna continue to push the points home that we've been pushing home, and our kids have to invest time in learning and doing what we ask, and they've got to believe in what we're asking them to do. And you know, sometimes it takes a little bit of change, but you know, we're not going to do the same thing week to week and expect different results. But from a structural standpoint and schematic standpoint, we're going to keep hammering home the things that we've been doing. Now we've got to change the delivery methods to get our kids to ingest what we're doing and accept and absorb what we're doing so that they can successfully take it to the field. But I'm not in a panic mode. Just we're gonna hunker down and we're gonna keep working, and we're gonna get better. We will be a better football team when we play against Howard. I can guarantee that. It will not. You will see improvements, and we will play better. But we've got to use this time this week to make corrections, continue to develop confidence with our players, and continue to teach them the things that are going to be successful. Those things that it's going to take to be successful. Those things don't change, and we're not going to change our approach.
Along those lines, talking about the bye week, after a game like this, mentally, is it better to take the week off or jump back on the horse?
Well, we'll take an extra day off. We took Sunday and Monday off. We went to practice this morning. We've already had a practice this week. We'll get another day in the middle of the week on Thursday where we'll give those guys a day off. But Tuesday and Wednesday will be big focus days, making corrections for us and kind of hitting the field, kind of to work out some of the soreness from playing in the game on Saturday, and then getting a jump on our preparations for Howard. So we'll get a few extra days, but we got to get back at it. You know, we can't, you know, maybe in the NFL where those guys are doing that completely, you know, 14, 15 hours a day. But for us, we got to get on the practice field. We got to go through our routine. We got to continue to coach them. We got to continue to harp on fundamentals and techniques. And the time off at times is good, but we can't have too much time off just because, you know, we got to constantly keep on the minds of our student athletes what's important now, what we're doing now, what it's going to take for us to be successful. We've got to be able to push those points home every single day. Those kids have to hear that message from us, and we've got to get them on the practice field where they can work on that physically and mentally as much as possible to make the corrections that we need to make going into this next game.
Finally, any silver lining in these two lopsided losses?
Number one, there's no moral victories, so you know I'm not going to go in there and try to find these things. But the great thing about those two games is that they're over, and we get an opportunity to prove to the world that we're a better football team next week when we play Howard. So there are some tremendous opportunities for us to make some improvements, and we're gonna.
Well, there's no way to go but up.
You're absolutely right. You know, there's some things that we do well at times. We've got to learn how to do those things on a consistent basis and over the course of an entire 60-minute game. You know, the Holy Cross game, like I said last week, the Holy Cross game for 1 quarter and 10 minutes of the second quarter, to me, that looked like an evenly matched football game. And then, you know, we had some mental and physical breakdowns to where then the score just kind of skyrocketed to where we were down. They scored 30 unanswered points, and then you're fighting to make it competitive again. And then against Marshall, you know, first drive of the game, we forced a turnover. You know, we get a stop, we force a turnover. We're making some stops, and you know, at times we move the ball up and down the field in spurts against Marshall, and we've got to find a way to do those things consistently. So coming out of those games, there's tremendous opportunities for us to get better. I'm excited about going into the MEAC schedule. I'm excited about playing Howard. You know, that's a rivalry game for us. We get an opportunity to play them back on our campus for the first time in a number of years. Our kids wanted to play a night game, so we'll play them at night. So, you know, our fans and our followers will get an opportunity to see us play one of our rivals on campus at night, you know, and it'll be a fantastic environment. So we're excited about that. You know, I get a chance to go to work and make corrections and help our football team get better, and we're going to do that with a smile every day. I was excited to walk out on the practice field this morning at 5:15 to get after it and coach our guys and get to working on our MEAC schedule and start preparation for Howard. So this is exciting for us. We're going to get it corrected. The great thing about the game of football in the college environment is no matter how bad you are, at one point in time, you get 7 days to correct it, and you get 7 days later, you get another opportunity to go out there and prove that you're better than you were the week before. So we're going to continue to work to get better. We're going to do the things that it takes to be successful, and we're going to continue to hamper, to continue to harp on those things and make sure our kids understand what we need to do to be successful consistently so that we have a chance to compete in the MEAC.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you.
And our next question comes in the line of Trevin A. Jones with SBN Sports. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, you really just answered the question I was going to ask. But with everything that you just said, it sounds like this is the perfect time for a week off for you guys.
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to take advantage of it. We'll get some guys who have some knick-knack injuries in the pool, and they'll get a few more days of therapy and treatments from our athletic training staff, and then we get a chance to spend a little bit more time in the film room. You know, our guys, you know, a lot of what we do at this level for us, you know, just in terms of trying to change what we're doing, and a big part of what I talk to our team about is creating a new normal. Our mantra, there's kind of two things that we're investing in this year. Number one is the concept and word believe, where we're really trying to find a way to believe in ourselves and accomplish our goals. And when we say believe, it's really an acronym for meaning by eliminating limitations, it's easier validating expectations. And we've got to find a way to convince our young men, you know, in life that, you know, whatever limitations or adversity we go through, we've got to find a way to work through that, push through that to get to what our goals are and what our expectations are so that we can accomplish that. And the second thing that we talk to those guys about is creating a new normal. And in so many ways, we've got to elevate our expectations and elevate how we work and what we do as it's geared towards accomplishing our goals. And this bye week is really going to play into that. It comes at a perfect time, just like you said, and it gives us time to invest a little bit more time in what we're doing in the weight room, what we're doing in the film room, and what we're doing in the practice field. And our kids came to practice today with great attitude. You know, those guys worked hard. We got some good work done. They were physical. They were competitive. Their spirits were up, and, you know, they're excited about getting ready to move into the MEAC. And to get a chance to start your MEAC schedule with the game against Howard, you get a chance to play it at home at nighttime. Everybody around here is excited about playing Howard. You know, it's just a fantastic time for our football team, and we're excited about it. And the bye week, like you said, comes at a great time, and we're going to try to use every minute of it to get our team healthy and to get a little bit of extra preparation for Howard.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
And there are no other questions at this time.
Thank you, Coach, for your time, and we will see you next week here at 10 o'clock. And Morgan State will open up MEAC play on September 24th against Howard. The Bears are off this week. Once again, thank you, Coach Farrier.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it.
Our second Florida A&M head coach Alex Wood. The Rattlers fell on the road at Coastal Carolina last weekend and will face Tuskegee in the fifth quarter classic in Mobile, Alabama on Saturday. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Ryan. How are you?
I'm fine. Yourself?
Good.
Coach, last week there was some positives on offense as Devin Bowers, he broke off a big run, and your quarterback was pretty efficient by completing 66% of his passes. Just talk about their progress compared to week one.
We made some progress, obviously. For coaches everywhere probably it's never fast enough, and for players for that matter, it's never fast enough. So we're just going to stay on course and just keep sawing wood. What I mean by that is just keep coaching them, keep coaching the fundamentals, keep trying to stay as positive as you can. Having dropped 2 ball games to 2 formidable opponents, but irregardless, you still drop 2 games, and that's not what we're working for, and that's not what we're here for. But we're making progress, slow but sure.
As one stat that stood out to me over the weekend was you only had 4 offensive series in the second half, but each one of them finished inside Coastal's territory. What adjustments were made, as it looked like you moved the ball pretty well compared to the first half?
Well, I think it's a combination of things. Obviously, we had gotten used to what they were doing, and we didn't change much of anything in the second half. We were just able to execute a little bit better versus what they were doing. And at that point in the time, the competitive edge of the game, they may have lost a little bit, but still, I think our kids stayed focused and we did what we had to do. We can't worry about where the mindset of our opponents are at, but I think all of that played out in the second half of the ball game.
And talk about this week's neutral site matchup versus Tuskegee, and provide a scouting report on what the Golden Tigers bring to the table.
Well, the Golden Tigers, they got a good football team. They got outstanding personnel. They got a quarterback and a tight end, and that are really, really good. They run a real basic attack. They do what their players do well. Compliments to their program, their coaching staff, and their players. Again, quarterback is an outstanding player. Their tight end's an outstanding player. On defense, they've got an outside linebacker, Osmond Thompson, who's a good football player. They've got a defensive line that looks every bit as good as some of the lines that we face in the MEAC in terms of their physicality. So they're going to bring a good team to the Classic, and we're looking forward to it, and it'll be a good matchup.
Thank you, Coach. That concludes my questions for this morning. We will now open up the call for questions from the media.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, once again, as a reminder, any questions, please press 1-4 on your telephone keypads. We have a question from the line of Dwayne Rankin with the Montgomery Advisor. Please go ahead. I'm sorry, Advertiser. I apologize.
You're good. Don't worry about it. Coach, wasn't going to hold you long. Appreciate you, obviously, on the call. Just curious in terms of, morale. When you have 2 losses like you guys have had, and obviously you're talking about playing Miami in the opener, what's the morale like with the guys? What's the guys' spirit like right now?
Well, obviously, we were disappointed with the losses for sure, but just like wins, losses, you got to shake it off and move forward. We all understand that there's a lot of football left to be played, so we'll get a chance to demonstrate, what kind of team that we are going down, finishing out the season, going down the stretch here, starting in MEAC play. So, we got to put the losses in perspective in terms of what they mean, of where we are, and measure, what we have to do to get better and win at the FCS level.
Okay, and then second with Tuskegee, obviously you just talked about them and what they bring to the table. Curious how much you know about Coach Slater. Have you ever crossed paths with him at all, and what do you think about him as a coach?
No, I have not. Don't know him, but obviously, the way his team plays represents him well. I mean, because they play well. They're polished. I mean, they're sound fundamentally. They execute their plays well. They know who they are. They got a very distinct identity of offensively and defensively, and in their special teams. They do a good job.
And lastly, obviously with them being a Division II school, that's lower level than FCS. How do you guard against your guys maybe looking at that and going, maybe not the older guys, but some of the younger guys guarding against, but overlooking the opponent because of that?
Well, that's the easy answer. One, we're 0-2. Just show them the film of the 2 games we just lost, and then throw Tuskegee on, and that should set the tone. Just throw the tape on and watch it, and you'll understand that they're not any different than we are, to be honest with you.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
And our next question comes in the line of Tully Carr with HBCU Game Day. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I was just wondering, with the fanfare involved in a game like this, bands are really excited, fans are excited, you're reviving a historical matchup. Is that factor or not a factor for you?
No, it's always a factor. That's what makes it fun. It makes college. That's what college football is all about: rivalries and excitement, fanfare. Color. Obviously, in the game. So no, that's exciting. You always want to coach games that people place a high level of significance on in terms of who wins, and bragging rights, and all that good stuff. And it's good competitive, good sportsmanship, fun. Makes it all worthwhile, and it's great for our kids to experience something like this at this level.
And I thought, last question here, Coach Slater talked about the improvement of Lacey from last year to this year. He did throw some interceptions last year, hasn't thrown any this year. Do you just look at tape exclusively from this year? Have you looked at his play from last season? How do you go about that?
No, yeah, we did a summer breakdown on him from last year. Yeah, we put together a tentative scouting report, preliminary scouting report based on what they did last year, and then obviously we've looked at the two games that they played this year, and obviously he is a much improved player. Not that he was all that bad last year, but he's got some skills, and we better do a great job of understanding that and not giving him time to throw, and then also defending him on the option.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Yep.
And our next question comes from Ty Miller with SBN. Please go ahead.
Coach Woods, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Coach, Tuskegee so far defensively has been averaging, giving up just less than 100 yards rushing per game. Can you talk about their defense? I know a lot of attention is focused on Kevin Lacey, but their defense has been outstanding so far, and what your team has to do in terms of the ground game to be successful.
Yeah, well, we've got to come up with some schemes, obviously, to feature what we do well in our offense to generate a running game. Explosives are important in the running game, but we got to complement. We got to be balanced, and we know who we are too. We have an identity in terms of what we do offensively, defensively as well. So we just have to make sure we feature the guys in our offense that are who we consider our best players, and get them the ball and let them go to work.
Hey, Coach, what have you seen in your two games against Miami and then Coastal Carolina that would be an asset to you in this game coming up?
Well, we've had a chance to play fastball, for 2 weeks in a row, and that'll be an asset for us. We've had a chance to play top-notch opponents, You get to measure where you are versus some of the best teams, respectively at the FCS and FBS level. So, we got an idea, where we're weak and what our strengths and weaknesses are, and we got to obviously, build on our strengths and strengthen our weaknesses, address those best we can as we get ready for Tuskegee.
And finally, Coach, from week 1 to week 2, did you see a marked improvement in your team?
I see an improvement in our team for sure. I mean, we talked about some of the things that the stats revealed that shows improvement for sure. And in a totality, we need to make a bigger jump, but we'll try to do that this week.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
And there are no further questions at the moment. And ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, please press 1-4 on your telephone keypads. 1-4 for any questions. One moment. And there are no questions at this time.
Thank you, Coach Wood, for your time, and good luck against Tuskegee on Saturday.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan. Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you next week.
I look forward to it, Coach. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Florida A&M will travel to Mobile, Alabama on Saturday to face the Tuskegee Golden Tigers in the 5th quarter classic this Saturday evening, and once again at 7 p.m. We're going to now move on to Delaware State as we attempt to get in contact with Bethune-Cookman head coach Terry Sims. we'll go to Delaware State head coach Kenny Carter now. And Delaware State fell to Monmouth this past weekend, and we'll have a bye on Saturday. And they'll return to action against Missouri on September 24th. Good morning, Coach Carter.
Good morning.
How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm the same. I'm great. Can't complain. First of all, Coach, last Saturday, you started off slow, but then the light came on in the second half, and you had 3 big plays to pull within 7 points early in the fourth quarter. Talk about the team's resilience during that stretch.
Well, we were making a couple mistakes, and we know that we're going to continue to have these things happen until we get it all ironed out. Hopefully, that'll happen before conference play. We played 17 freshmen, 14 sophomores, 11 juniors, and 5 seniors. So when you're that young, you're gonna make mistakes. But our kids finally got everything under control. And we made a big play in the run game, long run, over 50 yards with Bryson Aline. We blocked a punt for a touchdown, and then we had another big play pass to Jeremiah Williams that put us back in a great situation. And so a couple other things happened too, but I can't talk about. But it was a great situation, and we're proud of our kids. We still got a lot of work to do.
Speaking of Bryson Aline, he's emerging as a dual threat in both the running and passing attacks. Talk about his play and what does that do for your offense?
Well, he can do a little bit of everything. He's been good too as far as the return game also. So he's a great all-purpose guy. He's also a really good pass protector. So he gives you the ability to really get into several different formations. And then when we put him and Mike Waters, who had a good game also till he got a little dinged up, we put those guys in the backfield. You go from being 2 backs to really being 1 back because he can line up at receiver and be a legitimate receiver.
And on defense, the team had 10 tackles for loss. Talk about their play and how are they progressing also.
We really picked it up as far as they drove down on the first drive and tried to kick a field goal. We stopped them. We stopped them on the goal line. We stopped them several times inside the 10. And that was a big jump from last year. Not last year, but last week. We're still missing too many tackles. And we got to come to balance and fit up on people like we're supposed to in order to, get the ball on the ground. But a lot of that, again, like I said, is a growing process with young guys and being in competition. There are certain things. That you simply can't teach in practice. That you just need to play the game in order to be able to put your kids in a situation where they can work things out and get a feel for what that's going to be like.
And lastly, you have the bye weekend coming up. But I wanted to talk about something off the field in terms of when you go out to recruit with Delaware State, what are you selling to the local high school players and the high school coaches in the area?
Well, we don't isolate ourselves to local. We're all over the place because we knew what we were deficient at and we knew what we needed to do. So we went out and we recruited. We signed kids from 10 different states in this freshman class. So we're not limiting ourselves to just in-state. And what we sell is that we're a program that's doing everything we're supposed to do to get quality guys that are going to graduate and going to put themselves in a position to win a lot of football games. It doesn't happen overnight. It requires work, and work is the only way you're going to get there. So that's what we sell to our young people, is that we're going to coach you hard. We're going to give you the opportunity to learn the game, and more importantly, when your 4 years are up, that you're going to walk across that stage and have a quality degree that you can go about your life. And
with Missouri coming up next week, what is the game plan during your bye week to prepare for the Tigers?
We're not preparing for the Tigers in the bye week. We're preparing. We're trying to get better. We're not fundamentally sound as we need to be right now. So we're taking this week and we're making sure that we get back to the fundamentals and really just hone in on the individual skills that this young team needs. Like I said, we played 17 freshmen. They don't know when peaches get ripe. We got a lot of things we got to get done from a physical standpoint. We're not playing as physical as we'd like. We're not tackling as well. We're not catching and throwing as well. We got way too many turnovers, and most of the turnovers are just for bad decisions. They're not from bad play. They're just bad decisions that were made, by the quarterback. So. That's what we're going to focus on towards the end of the week. We're already game planning them, but we're not going to focus on them. We need to focus on us right now, and we still have a whole week and some days to get ready for Missouri.
Well, thank you, Coach. That concludes my questions. We will now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome your questions. Please press 1-4 on your telephone keypads. 1-4 for any questions. One moment, please. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, if you'd like to ask a question, please press 1-4 on your telephone keypad. One moment. And gentlemen, we have no questions at the moment.
Thank you, Coach Carter, and we'll talk to you next week, and enjoy your bye weekend.
Have a good week. Thanks.
Once again, Delaware State will have a bye on Saturday, and they will return to action next Saturday, September 24th at Missouri. And we're still trying to locate Bethune-Cookman head coach Terry Sims, but in the meantime, we'll now move on to Howard University head coach Gary Harrell. The Bison played at Rutgers this past weekend, and they'll open up MEAC play on Saturday as they host Hampton in an AT&T Nations Football Classic. Good morning, Coach.
Hey, good morning. How you doing?
I'm great. Yourself?
Doing outstanding this morning.
On Saturday, you had the eyes of college football watching. You set the tone early, had an 89-yard drive to open the game, and then you had the interception which set up the next touchdown to lead 14-0. Talk about the team's early start and how did that set the tone for the rest of the game?
It's been 2 tough weeks for us. University of Maryland, Rutgers, two Big Ten opponents. We went into Rutgers game. We watched a lot of film. We felt good about the things that we felt that we could take advantage of. The guys were very confident. It was a great atmosphere, a good experience for the guys. We went in, we jumped on them early. We had the momentum. We made the big plays. And we just, the halfway point, we just had too many mistakes. We got fatigued a little, and we just didn't play very well towards the end. I think we got very excited, was very animated, was into the game. But things happened that put us in a different spin that we got to get corrected to get our guys understanding how to finish, no matter what the climate, as far as the elements, if it's hot, if it's raining, no matter what atmosphere, if you're away or home, we just got to understand how to finish and put ourselves in a position mentally and physically, players, coaches, we all as a program, because we felt good. We felt good at going to the game. We felt good. We felt like the guys was able to make the plays. We put in those positions to make those plays. We still missed a lot of tackles towards the end for the second half. Penalties at the wrong time. So a lot of things that we have to get corrected. We have a long way to go. We're banged up. The guys, they fought very hard. I'm proud of them. They're waiting for it. And I think those 2 games is really going to help us develop the mental toughness that we're looking for, the identity as far as being able to run the football, understanding how to stop the football, which we have not done very well against Maryland and Rutgers. But now I think it shows some of the things that we are capable of doing. Anytime you're able to go up 14-0 to a Division I program, a Big Ten opponent, that shows that you have the talent, that shows scheme-wise that you're moving in the right direction. And now we just have to continue to stay upon that confidence and build on it. And that's what we plan on doing, just building on what we have and understand what we have to work with, and the guys, they feel real good about it.
Anthony Farrier had a solid game with 112 yards on the ground. With him and William Parker in your backfield, plus the growth and development of your quarterbacks, just talk about the potential of your offense at this point.
I think Coach Sherman do a good job as far as utilizing the pieces that we have. We do have some guys in the backfield that can make some big plays. It's very explosive. There's no doubt about it. Anthony Farrier is a special guy that we have, and we're very fortunate to have him here to be able to do the things that he's able to do. He's a very fierce competitor. He looks for contact. He can hit the home run. He can block, catch. He's definitely our best player on this football team. And now we have guys outside of him that can reduce the box. Cal Anthony. We have some other guys like Jerry Avery and some other receivers at the quarterback position that can make the throws. We feel good that we have the necessary pieces to, as we enter the MEAC conference, we're going to play out of conference, and we want to see what type of talent we can put together, see what type of identity we can build. And I think we've seen enough from each guy in each position to formulate our team, to create our identity, and just move forward with that. But from the wide receivers, tight ends, and the backs, and we're pretty much solid up front on the O-line position. Of course, football, you have Anthony Farrier, but you just need all the other things surrounding him to make the offense effective. And to be able to go down first drive against Rutgers and get first downs and score a touchdown, that's what we want to be able to do. Move the chains, stay ahead of the sticks, eliminate the penalties, and just keep our defense fresh by getting first downs and try to eliminate the amount of punting that we've been having.
Well, Coach, conference play kicks off this weekend against Hampton. It's on a big stage, the AT&T Nations Classic in Washington, D.C. Talk about Hampton and how it has to do in order to come out with the win.
We just have to, stick to our game plan. We have to make sure that we don't give things away. We have to be on the other side as far as creating the turnovers. We have to make sure that we score points. This team, they're very explosive. They can score points. They're pretty big on the D-line. Coach Maynor do a good job with the play calling that they have on offense. We have to make sure that we're balanced, and we understand that this game alone just brings so much hype and so much motivation for the players. No pregame speech is needed. I'm happy that this game was moved early in the year before it's late in the year where the weather was not very advantageous. But now it's at the beginning of the year where we know we're going to have great weather. So it's good atmosphere for the fans. It's going to be a great game. This again, we always look forward to. What a way to start the MEAC off as far as for us, as far as conference play. With Hampton, I'm sure they feel the same way. And it's going to be a great. Last year was a good game. They pretty much did some good things and pulled out the win. And we didn't play well last year. So I got to make sure I do a good job, make sure I help my guys focus and ready. Because it's all about bragging rights. And we know that, based on what the alumni, the presidents of both universities, administration. But we're just fortunate to be a part of this, and we just thank all those that's involved as far as the promoters that put this game together and give us this platform to display the type talent and everything that's surrounding the game as far as the debate, the things that goes on before the game. We're just fortunate to be a part of it.
Well, thank you, Coach. That's all the questions I have, and we will now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, as a reminder, for any questions, please press 1-4 on your telephone keypads for any questions. One moment for the first question. And we have a question from the line of Trevor Jones with SBN Sports. Please go ahead.
Coach, how you doing today, Coach?
Good. T. Jones, how about yourself?
I'm doing well, sir. As always, thank you. Appreciate you. Coach, I don't know if you how often you get to see the stats while you're coaching or how much you pay attention to them. But in the first half, and I don't think a lot of people realize, in the first half, towards the half, Rutgers only had 15 yards total offense. I heard you talk about the offense. I wanted you to talk about the defense a little bit because that was outstanding in the first half of that game.
There was. Typically I don't, try not to look at the halftime and midway stats when they brought to the locker room. I glance over, but I try not to put so much emphasis on it because I want the guys to play a complete game. I look after the game as far as go through the stats through each category. But I did see that Farrier had 115 yards at halftime, and I know we had some success in that area. Yes, defense did a great job. The guys came out and played very hard. As far as the D-line, the linebackers, we knew as far as running the run game, we had to stop the run, and we was able to do that. Just get a stop. But the offense also played a big part because we was able to keep. When you look at the possession for the first quarter, the time of possession is key. We had the ball for 12 minutes, and they had the ball for 2 minutes for the first quarter. And in the second quarter, we had for 8:55, we had it for 6. But when you win that time possession, and we knew that's what we wanted to do, is slow the game down on offense, go into double cadence, and take as much time off the clock and get ourselves in a good play offensively and just keep the defense fresh, and we was able to do that. But second half, they came out, changed the tempo, and we just didn't perform well. You know, I don't want to say because of the numbers as far as the rotation. You know, we don't listen to that as an excuse. You know, we signed up for the game, we go play the game, and we just got to do a good job as far as being in position to finish the game. But we just, fatigue-wise, and I mean, it was extremely hot on the football field, and we started cramping very bad, and we just lost a lot of bodies. You know, we had to substitute some guys in the back end and also on the D-line to come in to finish the ball game, and that's when the separation began to happen, when we actually replaced the starters due to cramping. Some guys had a couple concussions, and we got banged up pretty good, but the guys worked pretty hard.
And my follow-up question to that, Coach, is I know at the beginning of the second half, you had a couple of good returns on special teams, but you also had a period there where you had maybe five penalties or 4 penalties back-to-back, Coach?
Yes, and those are things we can't have. You know, when you look at the first half, when we up 14-0 and we give up a kick return, you know, in football, there's some plays in the game that can really turn the game around, you know. Special teams for a kick return, punt return, block punt, you know, big plays, those things really changes the momentum for the other team. And I think that had a lot to do with it because they put them within a one-possession score. It gave them some confidence. And then we just came out with the miscues. Like I said, the penalties really set us back. You know, we had a kick return, got us to midfield, or all the way back to maybe inside the 10. You know, the jump, the holding calls, you know, we're just not that good. You know, we still have a long way to go. The guys play solid, but we have a long way to go. You know, understand that those things cannot be a part of the game if you want to be a consistent winner.
And my last question to you, Coach, is it looks like Hampton got off to a fast start, too, last weekend against William & Mary. It looks like William & Mary pulled away in the second half. What kind of game are you anticipating coming up to the Nations Classic at RFK?
I expect a game that's going to be well called on both sides of the football, offensively, defensively. You know, I think special teams is going to play a big part in it. And it's all about keeping your guys, you know, within the moment. You know, we don't not get them too excited before the game. You know, make sure they're ready for the game, ready for the moment. And you know, Hampton looked very good this week on Erik. The first pass, they went deep, got a completion. You know, when you watch them, the things they do, they have a very good scheme. So we got to make sure that we stick to what we do, get our guys involved, with Cal, Anthony, Bill Yards on offense, and make sure our quarterbacks manage the game. And on defense, just rally to the football. We just have to tackle well on defense and make the plays that are there to be made. You know, the guys, we're in position to make the plays. So we just got to make sure that we, you know, just make sure we understand that we got to, you know, get a turnover when it's there. We got to get a sack when the opportunity presents itself. But the most important thing for us is to be able to tackle well, you know, and that's what we've been putting a lot of emphasis on for the past couple of weeks, to make sure that we tackle well. We understand playing against the bigger schools, sometimes those things can happen, but now coming down to our level, we got to make sure that we really excel in that area. We cannot have missed tackles against Hampton because these guys are very explosive. You know, when you look at the guys like Mixon, I mean, he's very explosive. You know, Erik, these guys are very shifty and can make some things happen on the offensive side of the football.
And my last question, Coach, you got to play a lot of freshmen this past weekend. I know that's not something that you anticipated, but does that build your confidence because some of them came out and performed quite well?
Yeah, I mean, the freshman group that we have, we feel real good about. It's a solid group. And the guys we brought in from day one, you know, we told them right now we're trying to create depth. We're trying to eliminate complacency. So please don't come in with the expectation of a red shirt. So from the beginning, these guys know they have to be ready when their number is called. And they did a good job as far as going through camp through the first 2 weeks, as far as keeping themselves prepared mentally, you know, in the weight room, physically, on the football field, getting mental reps. But we have a special group of freshmen that we signed this past recruiting class, and they are physically, you know, when you look at them, they're definitely physically able to compete right away, and they have the smarts, the good football IQ to understand what we're trying to get done as far as scheme-wise. With on offense, Cal Anthony, West Izzard, these are true freshman wide receivers. We have a lot of young guys that's playing collegiate football for the first time, and for their first collegiate football game to be a Big Ten opponent and to go out there with no fear and hold up to the pressure and come through. It's definitely, like I said, I'm so proud of the guys, the way they play. One of the ultimate goals is to win, but it's just the lessons and the experience that I see along the way that we're gaining is going to make us a better football team.
Thanks for your time, Coach. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, T. Jones.
And our next question comes to the line of Ken Rashad with HBCU Sports. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Coach. Coach, I just wanted to get your thoughts on how all of this is playing out with respect to FCS schools and their performance up to this point against the big boys playing against FBS teams. It's been kind of the talk over the last couple of weeks, not just with your school and other HBCUs, but just FCS schools in general in terms of how they've been able to perform in playing up against FBS teams. And as we look at what you've done in the first half, what your team did in the first half against Rutgers, what Grambling did in the first half against Arizona, and even what North Carolina A&T did against Kent State, do you think that the performance that we've seen up to this point with those teams in those games, is that just one big coincidence, or are we starting to see somewhat of the gap starting to narrow? What are your thoughts about that?
No, that's a good question. I definitely think that we are doing a better job on this level, not just HBCUs. When you look at the South Alabama University, what they're able to do, Furman playing well. Those other schools in the FCS level, we're doing a better job now as far as recruiting. As we know, the one thing about it, when you play these schools, when you play the Maryland, when you play the Rutgers, it gives you a gauge of where you would like to be or where you need to be a good football team when it comes to all the measurables, things that you need to be a powerful team. And that's what we're able to gauge. And now our players are able to go through that type of adversity and pressure and feel the intent of what they have to do to get better. I think each university, when you look at A&T, when you look at those schools, they have great talent. We understand as coaches, we talk about it all the time, that in the trenches, we know that's where the big difference is. O-line, D-line. Our skill guys can play in Big Ten. They can play in the ACC. And now coaches, we have to do a better job as far as schemes and make sure we prepare our team with better schemes to give us an advantage, to give us an edge. We understand that we're not going to be able to run just power and counter, just downhill plays consistently against a bigger school. So we have to do things to get our guys on the perimeter. If it's screens, if it's bubble screens, if it's outside zone plays, if it's a read zone, we have to understand that we cannot attack all 11 guys on defense. But if you find a defensive end that may be weak, you attack him in certain schemes, but you have to pick and choose your battles. And I think that's what we're doing as coaches on this level. We're taking what we have. We know we're working with less when it comes to resources, scholarships, and things of that nature. But coaches are doing a great job in the FCS as far as taking what they have and making it special and really getting their guys to believe that they can win and compete. All it takes is one university, A&T beating Kent State, Howard playing tough against Rutgers, and manifest through all the other athletes that, man, we really can play against these schools. So it's about installing that belief in your kids and scheme-wise and recruiting. All that plays a big, big part as far as being competitive, as far as playing up.
Thank you, Coach. That's all I have.
Thank you.
And our next question comes to the line of Mark Gray, Heritage Sports Radio Network. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. What's up, man?
Hey, Mark. How you doing, buddy?
All right. Hey, let me get a couple questions on the Classic specifically this weekend. You're at home, but it's your Classic. So, therefore, you're playing at RFK Stadium. Gives you a different kind of stage. Talk about, being on that stage and that platform how it compares differently to playing that game in your building?
It's just the tradition of the history that comes from the building that we like to be a part of. But it gives a change of venue, and hopefully the community, it gives them opportunity to come and really enjoy the game as far as how it was with Hampton. But for us, being a home game, for us right now, we need the bodies. We need to make sure we travel with as many bodies as possible because we're just so banged up, and we got to use a lot of backups this week to get us going. Practice, we got to be kind of very easy with our guys to get us back healthy. But playing at RFK is always a great venue. We have a great schedule this year. Being on the Big Ten Network twice consecutive weeks. But now to go at RFK is also always a great experience for my guys to go in and play there. We like to play here at home at Green Stadium in front of our own fan base, but we'll have the opportunity October 8th. But I love going to play at RFK because it gives my guys another opportunity to play inside a larger venue and really, really feel special about it.
You, during the course of the first couple of weeks, you play at Maryland. We talked about, Big Ten games, revenue for the overall program. So, too, was the Rutgers game. I guess without getting too specific, how big of an impact will these 3 weeks from a financial standpoint help the overall athletic program? And is there almost a sense that as a football coach, your teams sort of are this might be extreme, but the sacrificial lamb to bring in revenue to help teams down the road, but may adversely affect your teams later in the season? Injury versus revenue. Can you talk about that balance?
I typically, don't get involved with that. We put a schedule together and we all agree as one, as coaches, and as a head coach, as administrative, AD, we all agree with the schedule that we have, and we're all on the same page. We know that the things we have to do financially for the program, and we are always willing as a football program to play a major role in that task. But if you ask my guys, how they feel about playing Maryland and Rutgers, they love it. If you give them the opportunity to take those guys off the schedule or keep them on the schedule for 2016, I guarantee you they always, vote for those two opponents to stay on the schedule. Because they never, they want that type of experience. That's what we believe here at Howard, is giving these individuals, not just in the classroom, but in athletics, give them the experience that they probably would never receive in their lifetime. And I'm just happy that they have that moment in their life. Right? I played at Howard, and all week, all year, approaching Maryland, approaching Rutgers, I get texts and calls. Man, I wish, from my former teammates, I wish we had an opportunity to play Maryland. We always wanted to be in that platform. We always wanted to be showcased in that way. But these guys are getting that opportunity. And I always keep telling them that you can't focus on anything else outside of the game. Just worry about the schedule that we are that's upon us and play the game. But we enjoy playing up. We enjoy seeing what we can do as players, and don't get it wrong, as coaches. I want to see how well my coaches can coach against the so-called Division I coaches, and so that always gives us an opportunity to show what we really can do. But I think everyone benefits, of course, the athletic department of the university from the financial standpoint, but just from the experience. I think my players really understand, and I think they're really in favor of playing those type games. Yes, the risk of injuries always going to play a part, and we was fortunate. Last year was decimated. Last year after playing Boston College, and it was hard to finish the season. But this year we got some nicks and bruises, and we came out through the storm on the other end, and we'll get our guys back healthy. But right now we still have a football team that we feel good about as we approach MEAC play.
Do those two games early in the season, to use a baseball term, sort of help your bat speed, picking your tempo up, giving you an edge coming in? Not that Hampton is a lower bat speed than you're accustomed to, but when you play against a higher level of competition, does it help you when you come back down to the FCS level, give you an edge, or how does that impact the overall team?
No, you're absolutely right. Playing these schools give you an idea of what type pace that you have to play. Not saying that on this level we don't play at a faster pace, but it's a difference. We can't make no mistake about it. And I show them all the time when we get through playing in Maryland and Rutgers. I show certain clips. Hey, look how they approach the field. There's no walking from the sideline to the huddle. It's a sprint. So I try to use those things, because kids are visual today, to show them this is how we have to perform in order to be a good football team. We don't want to perform on a level where we are. If you want to be special, if you want to be great, if you want to be bigger than what you are, you have to prepare yourself in that manner. It's the same thing. Whatever job that you want, you have to dress specifically for that job that you want, not the job that you have. So we're trying to get our guys to understand how to win, deserve to win and play with intensity. We had practice this morning at 6, and you can see the difference. You can see the intensity. You can see the guys on defense getting to the football because they were able to see and witness that on Saturday for 2 weeks straight.
Thank you, Coach. See you this weekend.
Thank you, Mark.
And there are no other questions at the moment.
Thank you, Coach, and I wish you well against Hampton on Saturday.
Thank you.
Howard University will battle against Hampton in the AT&T Nations Football Classic this Saturday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. in Washington, D.C. at RFK Stadium. We'll now head to Daytona Beach, Florida, and speak with Bethune-Cookman head coach Terry Sims. The Wildcats dropped their season opener at North Texas last weekend and will face Tennessee State this Saturday in Daytona Beach. Good morning, Coach.
Good morning, Ryan.
Coach Sims, 2 weeks ago we alluded to special teams and their importance early on in the season. And on the first play, Frank Brown breaks open for an 88-yard return to open the game on Saturday. Talk about his performance on that play.
Well, our punt return team did a great job blocking, but a lot of that was Frank. Frank's a vicious competitor, and he does a great job with our punt returns. He takes special teams just as important and just as serious as he does on offense. So I think, with having guys that take special teams serious, you have a chance to have plays like that happen.
And talk about the play of Daquan Richardson. He had a solid game with 9 tackles, an interception return for a touchdown, and he also broke up 2 passes. Yeah, well,
Daquan is a guy that's 100 miles an hour all the time. He only has one speed, and he plays the entire game, at that speed. He's a great athlete, and, we have a number of our guys that are starters that are on special teams, and it's for that reason. You want your best guys out there. We don't want to take special teams off and say we're going to put, 2s and 3s in there. So he is one of our starters on defense, and he's a starter on our special teams. And we benefited from him this Saturday.
And this week you have Tennessee State coming to town, and they come in with an undefeated record. And this is the first time you all have played them since 2013. Talk about Tennessee State and what is the game plan this week?
Well, Coach Rod Reed does a great job with that program, and, they're a hard-nosed football team. They're going to run the football and a stingy defense and solid on special teams. So we just got to make sure that we clean up all our mistakes from last week and make sure we bring our A game on Saturday to be ready to win this football game.
And lastly, you had a Rookie of the Week in Akevius Williams. Just talk about that one touchdown run he made late in the game.
Well, we had an opportunity to play all 3 of our quarterbacks on Saturday, and, all 3 of them went in and showed that they could actually run this offense and lead this football team. And as Akevius got in and, he got comfortable with his first carry, he took the second one, 83 yards to the house, and you know, we're going to do whatever we have to do to make sure we're successful. So if that's a 2-quarterback system or a 3-quarterback system, then that's what we'll do.
Well, thank you, Coach. That's all the questions I have. We will now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. As a reminder, for any questions on the phone, please press 1-4 on your telephone keypads, 1-4 for any questions. And we do have a question from the line of Ty Miller with SBN. Please go ahead.
Coach Sims, good morning to you.
Good morning, Ty. How are you?
I'm good. Coach, could you talk about your offensive line and if you have any concerns with your running game right now?
No, I don't have any concerns with it. Our offensive line, they're probably where our defensive line was last year. Where we have some new guys up there, and they're just getting used to playing with each other and you know, learning how to play with each other in game type situations. So I'm really not concerned about it. You know, we'll have another test this weekend to see, and we have 4 guys right now that are rotating at running back that are doing a decent job for us. We just have to get the first game jitters and the first game mistakes out of the way, and hopefully we got all that out of the way on last Saturday.
Coach, you mentioned Tennessee State's defense, and, you know, I'm sure we all know that, you know, one guy doesn't make a team, but they do have this one outstanding player on their line, Ibo Ogundeko. Can you talk about him and the havoc he may be able to wreak on your offense?
Well, I hope he doesn't have any havoc on our offense, but he's a special player. You know, he's a guy that's stout against the run, but he's a great pass rusher. So we got to make sure that we do everything we can to make sure we isolate him and keep him off of our quarterbacks and out of the backfield.
And, Coach, in your estimation, how big of a measuring stick is being that you played one complete game against North Texas and you had the opening game delayed, how big of a measuring stick would Tennessee State be for your team?
It'll be a big measuring stick, I think, because Tennessee State's a great football team. And regardless of what level you play on, right now they're 2-0 and being undefeated, and they're coming in here riding high. So it'll be a good test for us, and I think, you know, we can expect to play a great football game, and we're gonna have to bring our A game to get out of this one with a win.
And I know this has no bearing on this game this weekend, but, you know, back in 2013, I think it may have been the opening season game, but you guys played a very close game that went down to the wire. What is your recollection of that game?
It was a bloodbath. It was 2 really good football teams, and we played down to the wire. And that's what you want as a football coach. You want to see your team fight to the end, and I'm sure Coach Reed would say the same thing, because both teams fought to the very end in that football game, and I think all 3 phases played a big part in that football game for both teams.
Coach, good luck this weekend. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from the line of Mike Washington with Inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show. Please go ahead.
Yes, Coach. How are you doing today?
I'm excellent. How are you?
Pretty good. I just briefly have a question. I'm out of Houston, Texas, but we've seen not only in the SWAC but in the MEAC where special teams is becoming very critical at key parts of the ball game. It's not enough to focus on the defensive or the offensive part. So looking at your last game and going into this game against Tennessee State, what emphasis or what mindset do you have your guys as in terms of how they're going to approach the special teams phase of the game?
Well, we're going to approach our special teams phase as we always do, and that's just the same as our offense and defense. We spend a lot of time on special teams. I believe in special teams, and I know that they can win or lose football games for you. So we're going to definitely focus hard on special teams and make sure that our guys are honed in and focused on their jobs when Saturday comes.
Thanks, Coach.
And there are no further questions.
Thank you, Coach Sims, for your time, and we'll talk with you next week.
Thank you, Ryan.
Bethune-Cookman will play the Tennessee State Tigers at home this Saturday, September 17th at 4 p.m. The game will be streamed live on bcuathletics.com. We'll now head to Norfolk State University, and we'll be joined by head coach Latrell Scott. The Spartans fell on the road at Richmond on Saturday, and will have another regional battle as they'll travel to William and Mary this weekend. Good morning, Coach Scott.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Yourself?
Doing well.
Coach, from watching the game this weekend, it was close in the beginning as Richmond's first three scores were either due to big plays or set up by a turnover. Talk about the play of the team early in the game.
Well, obviously, for the first quarter, I thought we played as well as we could possibly play. On throughout the beginning of the second quarter, we gave up a punt return with about 6 minutes left to go in the half, and got the ball back, and we're driving the ball and had a turnover in the red zone, and they were able to capitalize. So, when you give the second-ranked team in the country two touchdowns off of unforced errors, it puts you in a bind. We had the opportunity to come back out in the third quarter with the ball coming out of the half, but just couldn't get much going on offense. And you have to credit Richmond. It's a really good football team, well-coached football team, and the positive for us is that we get the opportunity to play another top-ranked team again this week in William and Mary.
In 2 games into the season, the defense has shown flashes of promise. Talk about the play of your defense and their adjustment to your 2 new coordinators.
Well, our defense has played well. Very, very nice job done by Coach Faison and Coach Brown. The guys are getting stops, and like I said, they played one of the top teams in the country to probably about a 17-point game if you take the turnover and the punt return out. So we're pleased with where they're going. Still need those guys to get a few more stops here and there. But to this point, we're pleased with what they've done.
And this week, you have William and Mary at William and Mary. And from what you've seen on film, what's the plan to come out on top?
William and Mary's a very talented team again. I think they're ranked 13 in the country this week, and they've got 14 starters returning. Hampton did a tremendous job against them last week. I thought Coach Maynor and those guys, made it a really good ball game. Just came up short at the end. So we'll take some of the tendencies that we get from that and NC State and try to make sure we get some points on the board offensively and continue our strong defensive effort and just fix the one issue that we had on special teams.
And lastly, just talk about the support of your traveling base. A lot of Spartan fans bought tickets last week to Richmond, and we'll assume they'll do the same thing. So just talk about the support you've had so far during your 2 years here.
I'm very pleased with the support from Spartan Nation. Norfolk State's always been one of the best fan bases in HBCU football, and we helped sell out the stadium at Richmond last week, and hopefully we'll do the same thing. It's the opening game, and William and Mary's renovated stadium, and it's another local and regional game, and we expect Spartan Nation to show out in full force. And like I said, just extremely thankful for the patience that they've had with us. We're still a young football team building this thing as we go.
Well, thank you, Coach. That concludes my questions for this morning. We will now open up the call for questions from the media.
Ladies and gentlemen, for questions, please press 1-4 on your telephone keypads. 1-4. One moment, please. And there are no questions at this time, sir.
Thanks again, Coach Scott, for your time, and good luck against William and Mary on Saturday.
Thank you.
Norfolk State will travel to William and Mary this Saturday evening at 6 p.m. The game will be streamed live on tribeathletics.com. We'll now move up the highway and talk with Hampton University head coach Connell Maynor. Hampton will open MEAC play on Saturday as they'll battle Howard in the A&T Nations Football Classic. This past weekend, Hampton lost a close game to William and Mary in Hampton. Good morning, Coach Maynor.
Good morning. How you doing?
I'm great. Yourself?
I'm great.
Coach, this past weekend, your team played very good, but the one stat that stood out was that William and Mary finished the game 8 of 15 on third down conversions, and as we all saw, that extended several late drives, which led to some scores. So talk about that stat in particular, and how do you approach that situation at practice?
Well, we work it. We work the third down and medium and third down and long situations, and just get a little bit more familiar with those situations and what we want to do, and depending on the score in the game and the time in the game, if we're going to bring pressure or we're going to sit back in zone, and just got to be a little more efficient at that area, because third down you got to get off the football field and get stops, and we didn't do that very good last week. And then we had a couple plays where we didn't tackle on one play, and then we blew assignment in the secondary on another play to give them 2 touchdowns in the third quarter. So we just got to shore that up.
And your running back, Yaquid Johnson, he ran the ball pretty well as he finished with 115 yards on 12 attempts. Talk about his development, and what does that do for your offense now that you have a solid running threat along with your 2 wide receivers?
That makes us balanced. That makes us where we want to be, to have the run threat. We can play action, and we got some receivers that we can throw the ball down the field to. So as long as those guys up front keep opening up holes for Yaquid and Erik, and that's just going to make it easier for us to throw the ball down the field. So that's huge to have that on the offensive side of the ball, to be able to run the ball, and then you can also throw the ball. That was open up the passing game. So I was very pleased with the way we were able to run the ball against William & Mary this past week.
Now, compared to this time last year, William & Mary, it was a different type of game, and it shows the growth of the program. Can you just talk about the strides you've made comparing both times you played William & Mary last year and this season?
Yeah, last year we went to their place, and we just didn't show up. We got off the bus, but we stayed on the bus, and we didn't play very good on offense. Defense played well early, holding them to some long field goals and kept us in the game, and we just couldn't make a play. And then they just defense stayed on the field too long, got wore down, and they beat us up pretty bad. And so this year, we knew we was a better team than that. We weren't as bad as we played last year, and we just need to come out and execute a little bit better and take care of the football and tackle a little bit better. And that's what we did this year. And as you can see, it was a lot closer game.
And MEAC play starts this weekend for you all, and you head to Washington, D.C. to play Howard. Talk about what you've seen from Howard on tape, and what's the game plan to come back with the win?
Well, Coach Harrell is doing a great job with those guys, man. They're always well prepared. They got a great scheme. Offensively, they'll throw a new wrinkle in there every week, as we saw they did to Rutgers, running some zone read off of the inside backer, and the quarterback just hit it right over the middle. So they gonna always throw a wrinkle in there, and we kind of expect they'll have a wrinkle ready for us this week. So we got to be prepared for that, and then they always gonna play hard. And it's Howard, Hampton University, and the battle of the real HU. So you don't have to do a lot of rah-rah speeches this week. The guys get up to play each other. Hampton, Howard, they get up to play each other, and then you take them to an NFL stadium to play an RFK in a classic. So both teams going to be excited, ready for conference play. Both teams play tough teams out of conference, and 0-2. So both teams are looking for to get back on the winning track and looking forward to conference play. So it'll be a big game for both programs, and we have to play better and take care of the football. We turned over 4 times week 1 and 2 times last week. So we definitely got to take care of the football, and we need our defense to continue to play the way they played last week.
Well, thank you, Coach. That concludes my questions for this morning. We will now open up the call for questions from the media.
Okay.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. For any questions, 1-4. We have a question from the line of Lute Williams with the Black College Sports page. Please go ahead.
Actually, my question, I had chimed in a little late for Coach Scott, but I'll be glad to ask Connell a question. Connell, how was the play of your quarterback this week?
It wasn't bad. He threw 2 interceptions. One was I'm probably take the blame. I called a pass play in a coverage that I shouldn't have called, and it was a play action pass, so he didn't get to read the defense the way he needed to because he was faking the ball, and the backside safety picked it, and then he threw another pick in the red zone on the about 7-yard line, but the offensive lineman got some push, and the defensive lineman got his hand up and got a tip on it, so it was tipped. So He didn't really play that bad. He played. I thought he played good. He could have played better, but I thought he played well.
I know you got a lot of new players on your team this year. How much progress do you think you've made in terms of finding out who can do what? The kid that ran for the 100 yards, what's his background?
Jackie Johnson?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a transfer. He has 2 years left. A smaller back, but he's elusive. He's fast. He can run in between the tackles, or he can run outside. So, you know, we want to get him the ball as much as we can. We've got to give him the ball more, but we also got to get Erik the ball and you know, keep him off balance. And yeah, he's doing a great job for us, and he'll continue to do that, and we got to continue to get him the ball.
What do you take from staying with, so to speak, the 13th ranked team in terms of where you are and the progress you want in the program?
Well, I think, you know, I've always said that, you know, even our league, you know, the top 4 or 5 teams are not that far apart from the bottom tier teams, and you know, and I thought our teams could play with anybody. We didn't get teams in the playoffs last year, but you know, a couple years ago, North Carolina A&T took Coastal Carolina to the 1 point and kind of gave that game away, and Coastal Carolina went to the Final Four that year. Last year we had Richmond. We played Richmond very tough up here at our place last year. Had the opportunity to beat those guys. Had the lead going to the fourth quarter, and Richmond went to the Final Four last year. So our conference is not far away. We're not far off. We got some good talent. We got some good coaches, and so you know it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle. If we can get some teams in, we got some teams that can make some noise and go deep into the playoffs. We can play with these guys. It told us that we can play with the top teams in FCS football, and you know, we just got to do it for 4 quarters.
Is that the kind of message that you said to your team after the game about this was a demonstration of that there's not the big gap between the MEAC schools and these teams that are ranked?
Yes, that's exactly what I told them. I mean, that's a playoff team every year. Women Married is going to be a playoff team again this year, and they got a chance to make a deep run. And you know, and Richmond was last year, and we played with Richmond and played with Women Married this year. But our guys got to understand: don't be satisfied with just playing with these guys. Go ahead and finish the deal. It's not a 2-quarter, not a 1/2 game. It's a 4-quarter game, and we got a field goal blocked right before half. About a 30-yard field goal got blocked right before half. So we should have had a 10-7 lead going into half, but we didn't. And so we got to come out and not be satisfied with being in the game or being tired at halftime, knowing that you can play with these guys and finish the deal. So, you know, we're still in a learning process. And I think not only my guys, but other guys in this league now starting to understand that we can play with anybody.
Thanks, Coach. Good luck.
And our next question comes in line of Mark Gray, Heritage Sports Radio Network. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, how are you this morning?
Good, Mark. How you doing?
All right. Talk about, you know, the impact of Hampton and Howard meeting in RFK Stadium. You know, the recipe for the success of a lot of classics around the country is that regional thing. You know, 2 teams in close proximity. You and Howard give D.C. that ingredient to the success of a classic. So talk about how important it is for you to have a platform in a big market like D.C., as far as recruiting and all the other intangibles that go into the notoriety of your program.
Yes, it's huge. It's huge for both programs. It's huge for HBCUs, and you know, to get to play in an NFL stadium where the Redskins used to play at. It's normally locally televised, so you got another opportunity to play on television, and then you know, we recruit that area, and then it's the bragging rights of the real HU. So we want to perform. We want to perform at a high level and come away with the victory, so we can go up there and still be able to recruit those guys up from that area that know nothing but Howard or know more of Howard than Hampton. So it's huge for both programs. bragging rights. These guys played against each other in high school, and so it's just a huge deal all the way around for these guys.
Talk about, how this game, affects the bottom line as far as, the payouts as it relates to impacting the rest of your program. I asked Coach Flea a little bit earlier about, football often being the sacrificial lamb, so to speak, in terms of revenue generation for the rest of the program, particularly for those schools who are playing their FBS opponents. But the Classics are a revenue stream for teams who are competing in there. How does this work out for your program?
It's great. We're not going to make a lot of money, but we will make some money off this. And, it's a away game for us, but it's a classic. And it's a home game for Flea, but it's a classic. So, they'll get money, we'll get money. And, if it was just a away game for us, we won't get any money. So it's a win-win situation where both years we'll be receiving money instead of just 1 year making money off of it. And then the opportunity for guys to play in classic, to travel and to play in RFK Stadium again, it's just a win-win situation for both universities and the players.
Talk about where you are right now. And this game last year in particular was played on a Friday night, and this year playing on a Saturday night, on a Saturday afternoon. Is it easier for your schedule to be on a Saturday than it is Friday? Can you talk about how that dynamic works?
Well, I think the Friday just makes it a short week for us, but then it gives an extra day on the next week. So that really didn't affect us, I think, as much as it may affect the fans that have to work on Friday. We have to take off early, miss a day of work on Friday to get down to the game and beat the traffic and get there by 7 o'clock. Whereas Saturday, now everybody's off. You don't have to worry about Friday night football. You don't have to worry about taking off. You don't have to worry about traveling and beating the traffic. And it's a normal Saturday, so you can come up Friday night, spend the night, get up Saturday morning, go to the game, and just enjoy DC while you're there. So I think it's just more conducive for everybody to play it on Saturday and probably get more people. We had, I think, maybe like 15,000 last year, which was a great crowd. And I think we'll probably get even more this year that it's on a Saturday.
Thanks a lot, Coach. See you this weekend.
Yes, sir.
And the next question comes from the line of Trevor A. Jones with SBN Sports. Please go ahead.
Coach Maynor, what's up, Coach? How you doing?
You the man, Trev.
I'm trying to be like you, Coach. Hey, Coach, let me ask you this question. Last year coming into this game, the Bison hadn't scored. I think they didn't score until they met Hampton last season. And I know that's last year. But looking at the team this year, as much as you've seen on tape, and the team that you faced last year, do you see a major difference in your opponent this time around?
No, I don't see a major difference, but I see a difference. I see that they're a little better. They're better than they were last year. And last year they played 2 FBS programs, and they did the same thing this year. And they hung in there. They was in there the first half against Rutgers. They played a great first half. They drove the ball down the field on them. Probably a 14-play drive to open up the game, man. I mean, that was very, very, very impressive on what they did. Then, like you say, the defense hung in there the whole first half with those guys, and they really stopped them, and they did a job on them. And they just got out of hand and got away from them a little bit there in the second half. As you said, they got a couple injuries. So they're a much improved team. Flea and that coaching staff does a great job getting those guys prepared. And we have to be prepared and ready to go this week if we want to come out of there with a W.
And both teams are dealing with basically not brand new quarterbacks, but new quarterbacks. What do you see coming up the quarterback battle in the Classic?
Well, probably, to be honest with you, if probably whoever quarterback plays the best might come out on top in this game. We want to run the ball. They had to run it back to rush over 100 yards, and so do we. So we're going to try to run the ball and try to mix it up, keep them off balance and throw the ball. But it might come down to who can make some throws in the red zone or a game-winning drive, and the quarterback going to be crucial in those situations. So, hopefully our quarterback play well, and we'll see what happens.
And this game is always, as you said earlier, a big one. I know it's the classic, and the energy level is very high for both teams coming into this. Again, I think I asked you this last week. I'll ask again. How do you keep the guys level-headed? I know you won't have to pump them up because it's the battle of the real HUs, but what do you tell the guys to keep them focused and kind of the energy level going into this one?
Well, you know, the energy level will be high because it's Howard Hampton. It's first conference game. It's in RFK Stadium. As far as keeping them head level, I mean, we're an 0-2 football team looking for our first win, and so, you know, our goal is to win our next football game, and we got to do every little thing that we can, offensively, defensively, special teams, film room, weight room, practice field, to get ready to get our first win. And so it's going to be no letdown of that because we haven't got a win yet, and that's what we're trying for. Those are our goals, to win our next football game. So I don't have to do much of that. It ain't going to be no letdown because we're not 2-0 and sitting tall and smelling our own stuff. So we got a lot of work to do.
And my last question, Coach, I heard you reference Yaqui earlier. Talk about Yaqui, your running back, and then tell me what you think of your impression of Anthony Filial, the running back from Howard.
Well, they two different. Filial's a little bigger, more inside runner. Yaqui's a smaller back, more of an outside space guy. Both of them can catch the ball out the backfield, but just a little too different because Yaqui is a make you miss, fast, quick guy, scat back type running back, and their running back is a little bit bigger, more power back than ours is. But both of them are good running backs.
As always, thanks for your time, Coach. Good luck this weekend.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And there are no other questions.
Thank you, Coach Maynor, and good luck against Howard on Saturday.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Hampton will open MEAC play this weekend as they'll travel to Washington, D.C. at historic RFK Stadium to face off against Howard at 3:30 p.m. Our seventh head coach this morning is Savannah State's Erik Raeburn. Savannah State fell at Southern Miss last weekend and will have a bye weekend on Saturday. They won't see action until September 24th as they'll open MEAC play against Bethune-Cookman. Good morning, Coach.
Morning.
Coach, in the first part of the game last week, the Tigers had momentum early. You had the interception return, then you had a chance to take the lead until the blocked field goal. Could you just talk about the team's start and what positives can you take away from it?
Yeah, obviously we're real happy with the fact that we got off to a good start. Obviously Marquise made a great play to kind of tip the pass and then pick it off. So we got great field position. Unfortunately, on first down, we threw a pass that went off our receiver's hands. Would have been a touchdown and just couldn't quite pull it in. And then they held us on second and third down, and then we got the field goal block. So I had a great opportunity with the big takeaway by our defense, but just weren't able to capitalize on offense.
Well, you have a bye coming up, and what's going to be your focus on the practice field?
Well, we're just going to try to, improve. Obviously in these first two games we made plenty of mistakes. Both sides of the football, and so our focus this week is going to be just trying to clean up the mistakes that we're making right now, as opposed to, trying to prepare for, particular opponent. We're just going to try to focus in on correcting the things that we feel like we need to do a better job of.
And also, my last question, in rebuilding a program such as Savannah State, talk about some of the things behind the scenes in terms of selling your vision to prospective recruits in high schools across the state of Georgia.
Yeah, I think that's just it. We have to sell our vision of what the future will be. We don't have the program just hasn't had much success in the last 4 or 5 years. So we don't have anything recently to kind of sell from a tradition standpoint. So we have to do a great job of selling our plan, our vision for what it will be like. And I think we've done a good job with our players. I think we've kind of sold them on our vision, and that they're buying in, and hopefully that'll help convince recruits and their parents and their high school coaches. Hopefully our current players will be able to help us convince them that things are changing and things will be different here at Savannah State.
Well, thank you, Coach. That's all the questions I have this morning. We will now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. For questions, please press 1-4 on your telephone keypads, 1-4 for questions. And we have a question from live. Trevor Jones, CBN Sports. Please go ahead.
SBN Sports. Coach Raeburn, how you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing well.
Coach, just two quick questions for you. I remember, I think, in the preseason teleconference where you mentioned that the seniors kind of stepped up and got everybody else to buy into the program as well. It was kind of gave you a little bit of made it a little easier on you to sell the program to the current players. My questions are this: how is that going? And my second question is, trying to rebuild a program and then playing up immediately. How tough is that?
Yeah, I guess to answer the first part of your question, as a coaching staff, man, we couldn't be happier with the attitude of our players. That they have bought in. I feel like they've completely bought in. They're doing everything we're asking them to do. The attitude's been excellent. Obviously, it hasn't shown on the field. But we have played two excellent football programs, and certainly Southern Miss, beat Kentucky at Kentucky, an SEC team. They beat them, pretty soundly. Had 600 yards of offense against them, and did a great job defensively, particularly in the second half. So they're an excellent football team. Georgia Southern, another fantastic football team. They just beat South Alabama this week, and South Alabama had beaten Mississippi State the week before. So I do think we have played. Obviously, we haven't played well, but we have played against two really talented football teams, in my opinion. And I'd be shocked at the end of the year if both those teams, aren't at or near the top of their conference and going to bowl games. So I do think we've had two excellent football teams. Obviously, we don't have much positive on the field to show, but we do feel like we've made improvements, from the first day of camp until now. But I guess I'm hoping that it's more the quality of our two opponents than where we're at.
And thank you, Coach. The reason I asked that question is because I'm thinking as an outsider, anybody looking in and trying to just look at stats or looking at the scores, you would have a better barometer on the growth of your team because you are rebuilding.
Yeah, we try to, we try. It's hard not to be negative, and if you're an outsider and you weren't at the game and you look at the statistics, they're you wouldn't think there's much to feel good about, for sure. And I don't think anyone in our program feels good about the way we played the first two games. But I think everyone inside our program, the players and the coaches, I do feel like most of us feel like we're getting better. We're making improvements. We happen to run into two extremely talented football teams, and they took it to us. But there has been positives. We did not turn the ball over this week. And I think against Kentucky, they were able to create 3 or 4 takeaways. So we did. Our quarterbacks were under pretty heavy pressure. Southern Miss has a really good front seven. But we did a good job of taking care of the football, not turning it over. So, there's little things like that we can, that we're hoping to build off of. But But we just in our first 2 games, we just not a lot of positive things have happened for us on the field for sure.
All right, Coach. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
There are no other questions.
Thank you, Coach Raeburn, for taking time out this morning to speak with us, and look forward to talking with you next week.
Thank you.
Once again, Savannah State will have a bye this weekend, and they'll return to action on Saturday, September 24th versus Bethune-Cookman. Our next call takes us to Orangeburg, South Carolina, as we welcome in head coach Buddy Pough of South Carolina State. The Bulldogs endured a 4-hour delay last Saturday at Louisiana Tech and then finish until 2 a.m. Eastern Time. They'll return to play this weekend as they'll travel to face Clemson on Saturday afternoon. Good morning, Coach Pough.
Good morning.
Coach, there was a lightning delay last Saturday, which delayed kickoff 4 hours. Having to start at 10 o'clock, talk about what took place during that span to keep your team loose physically and mentally.
We waited.
Well, during the wait, just talk about trying to, what did you do to keep them loose?
For 4 hours?
Yes, sir.
We waited. It's nothing to do. You can keep them for 4 hours. I mean, I didn't have a plan for it, and I didn't exactly know. We were dressed and ready to go, thinking we were done, and all of a sudden it looked like we were going to play. So we got on to the business of getting them ready again, and we played. So, it was a very unusual circumstance, to say the least. And, I don't have an answer for you. I can tell you that I was proud of the fact that our kids went out and continued to play. We played somewhat better than we played the previous game. And, we were pleased with that. We got into it. The score was 19-10 at the half, and we hung around for a while. So we had an opportunity. We thought Louisiana Tech was a good bit better football team than the team we had played the previous week, so we could see some improvement there. But besides that, with all the other possibilities of what went on in between, we waited.
And talk about your 2 scoring drives in the first half. Pretty much the first, Louisiana Tech jumped up early due to turnovers, but then, the offense persevered, and you had those 2 scoring drives in the second quarter to pull within a reasonable distance. So just talk about their perseverance and the growth they made as a unit after week 1.
Well, we drove the football one time, you're right, and got it in. We're starting to develop some continuity up front. Our offensive line started to come on pretty good, and we can mix it and throw it a little bit. We didn't necessarily drive it down and throw it on anything, but we did have the benefit of a couple penalties and some of that kind of stuff, and we're able to finally stick it in. We get it back again. They turned the football over to us. We punted it to them, and we got it back on the turnover on the muff of the punt, and got it back down and got it into. We actually should have gotten it in the second time, and got down close and had an operational penalty for 12 men, and got it backed up a little bit where we couldn't get it in. But if not for that, then I think we might have gotten a second full score, but we ended up with a touchdown and field goal.
And this week you had the Clemson, and everyone pretty much knows what they did last season with the national championship game appearance. So far, they've had some close contests this season, and what needs to be done by your team in order to battle them for 4 quarters?
Well, our mission is to continue to improve. We're trying to get now through these first 3 games into our regular conference scheduling. We'd like to come out, first off, with some confidence, and that means we got to have some success. We've got to be able to play with these guys, and I think that itself would be, something that we could take some pleasure in. But at the same time, it's a bigger task now probably than it would have been ordinarily because Clemson really hadn't played all that well. And, I'm sure the fact that they're searching themselves for, that vibe that they had last year at the end of the year, it's going to mean that they're going to be more attentive to detail than ever, in their process. So we'll have our work cut out for us this coming Saturday.
And lastly, I wanted to follow up on a question that was posed to you last week. You had, when we ran the numbers, you had several guys that you led the MEAC in having active NFL players. Could you just talk about, if you can go a little deeper about the development of what you're doing in order to get them to the next level as successful as you've been doing?
Yeah, well, we get pretty good players, and, we train them up pretty good. We've been fortunate in the fact that, some of our guys, even some walk-on style kind of guys, because we got two guys in the league right now that walked on here, were developed in a way where they could play at the next level. But, there's no secret to the fact that you got to have good players, and we just kind of take a guy sometimes who's not necessarily an NFL-looking guy, maybe a taller guy that maybe we need to add weight to, or maybe a bigger guy that we need to somehow or another develop his body that way, make him stronger. But it's mostly the fact that, we've been pretty good at predicting guys that will, develop into pretty good players.
Thank you, Coach. That's all the questions I have. We will now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. For questions, please press 1-4. We have a question from the line of Mike Washington inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. How are you doing this morning?
Good. How are you?
All right. Real quick, you had, against Louisiana Tech, you kind of distributed the rushing load across 3 or 4 of your rushers and running backs, and Brown, Ford, maybe Morris got in a few there. Is that the plan to kind of continue kind of the running back by committee, or is it a game time decision, or what will actually be your strategy as you go into face a tough Clemson who will be looking to improve on their performance this past week?
Well, we kind of danced with the one that we brought to the dance, and it's not necessarily us trying to spread it around as much as us trying to play as many people as we can, trying to keep our team as fresh as we can. Our first game of the year, we didn't rush the ball very well at all, and our leading rusher was our quarterback. And if you look at the style of quarterback we have, that shouldn't be. So we're looking now to try to see if we can develop, a guy that can really be the guy. We hadn't maybe found that guy yet, but we're searching a little bit for him. Once we get him, then we'll hopefully give him the ball enough where he can be, a guy that you can see by his stats to be, the guy that we're looking to try to feature a little bit.
Gotcha. Thanks, Coach.
Yes, sir.
And there are no other questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Pough, and good luck against Clemson on Saturday.
All right, appreciate it, guys. Y'all have a good day.
You too. South Carolina State will travel to Clemson to face the Tigers for a 12 p.m. kickoff on Saturday. The contest will be live on the Fox Sports Network and ACC Extra. We now move on to Greensboro, North Carolina, as North Carolina A&T State head coach Rod Broadway joins us. The Aggies made the headlines this past weekend as they knocked off Mack member Kent State for the school's first ever FBS win, and they also remained undefeated. North Carolina A&T State moved up in the FCS polls and will now head west to Tulsa, Oklahoma to face Tulsa on Saturday. Good morning, Coach Broadway.
Good morning, Ron. How you doing?
I'm great. Yourself?
I'm good, thank you.
Well, Coach, I'm going to jump ahead. Everyone has probably texted you, praised you, and the team has probably heard the same type of congratulatory praises over the last few days. Talk about trying to put this win behind you and moving on to face Tulsa on Saturday.
Well, it's going to be a heck of a challenge for our guys. Tulsa, I think, is an outstanding football team. I just watched the bowl game from last year, and they put 50 on Virginia Tech, so we got our work cut out for us, and, they're much better football teams than we've played so far.
And during the game on Saturday, what stood out to me late down the stretch Kent State struggled with trying to hold your receivers as they called 4 pass interference calls in the fourth quarter and overtime. Just talk about the play of your receivers late in the game.
Well, I thought they made some outstanding catches. The game-winning catch was an outstanding catch by Keys. And, they had a couple, he's big. And, a lot of times that's what they got to do. He's 6'4", 6'5", and he jumps really well. And that's what you got to do sometimes, try to keep him from scoring touchdowns, getting the ball.
And then lastly, when the game ended, you even cracked a smile. I saw it on TV, Coach, so you can't say you didn't. But then talk about the weight of the program and from where you started to where you're at now to where you're competing and now you're beating FBS teams.
Well, I think it's come a long way, Ryan. I think, and I said this, and it was a laughing stock in black college football, 6-7 years ago. I remember watching Bethune and A&T play on Thursday night. It was 60-something to 6 or whatever, and just didn't have the athletes or enough athletes to get the job done. And now we've been able to recruit. The first 2 years we didn't even have any recruits. So the last 4 we've been able to recruit a little bit, and I think it's starting to show now because we're starting to get some good players in here, and the guys are starting to buy into what we're trying to do. And, they're learning how to win, but not only how to win, they're learning how to handle winning, which is totally different from winning. So, I think we're moving in the right direction. We still got a lot of work to do to get this thing where we want it, but everybody's all in, and we're trying to move in that direction.
And lastly, Jeremy Taylor, from what is listed, a 5'11" linebacker, doesn't crack 200 pounds, but he was FCS National Defensive Player of the Week. Talk about his play.
Oh, he was special Saturday. He played his rear off. And, Jeremy was the guy that walked on here and, played his way into being put on scholarship this fall. And, and that was the reason because we knew he was a good player. And he's starting to get better. And, the way he performed Saturday night against those guys was outstanding. I'm happy for him and for us that he's developing the way he has here in the last year or so.
Well, thank you, Coach. That's all the questions I have. We will now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. For questions on the phone, please press 1-4 on your telephone keypad. We do have a question from the line of Lute Williams, Black College Sports Page. Please go ahead.
Again, I was trying to get it in Coach Pough. You closed it out too fast for me, but I don't have a problem asking Coach Broadway. Coach Broadway, you talked about Taylor not even being 200 pounds, and you're playing him at linebacker. Tell me how that works. That's usually a little too small for college linebackers, even at this level. How was he able? What's his skill set? I mean, the way he looked on Saturday was he was so quick to the ball, and he was like in on so many plays. What's the main thing you've seen from him that got you to put him in that position?
Well, he runs well. He can run, and one of the things that we try to do here is recruit speed, and he's one of those guys that can run. And now he's learning how we play defense. He's really starting to develop into being an outstanding player, and I think that, the world had a chance to see him Saturday night, perform at his best. That's the best game he's played since he's been here. I just hope he has a couple more left in him.
I asked you at the press conference Monday about your game balls because so many guys played well. I think you said 5. Can you talk about, can you remember those names? Can you tell me who they are today?
Oh, let me see. I don't remember. Let me see. I think Jeremy Taylor, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he was outstanding. Tyreek Cohen was outstanding. Denzel Keys with a big catch to win the ball game was outstanding. Our kicker, our punter, Sawicki, averaged over 40 yards a kick. Did a great job. And Darton, our defensive back, did a great job. So I think those are 5 guys that we recognize as being outstanding players in the game.
And was that as satisfying a win? And I know all wins are big wins, but was that as satisfying a win?
It was a really good win. I tell you what, Luke, just to see the joy on our guys' face and to see them experience something like that, that is why you do this, because it was a beautiful, I wish you could bottle that feeling up and sell it. I'll make us all rich if we could do that, because the moments after the game in the dressing room, just to see the joy on our guys' face and to feel the feeling that they had, you know, it was special, and it's something you don't get a chance to experience that often.
My last question, Coach, is about Tulsa. You talked about them putting 50 up against Virginia Tech in the bowl game. What did you see against Ohio State? Did you see, was that result, you thought they would compete better against Ohio State? Of course, we don't know. Huh?
They made, they wasn't as clean as they did against Virginia Tech. And, of course, you're not going to be, because you're talking the 13th game of the season in bowl game, 14th game of the season compared to the second game. So they're still working on some things. But they're outstanding. They have two outstanding receivers. They have a couple of running backs, big physical offensive line, you know, big physical defensive line, linebackers that can run. So they got a lot of things in place. They're a really good football team.
Good luck, Coach. I'll be watching.
Thank you.
And the next question comes from the line of Ty Miller, SBN. Please go ahead.
Coach Broadway, good morning to you.
Hey, Ty, how are you?
I'm good, Coach. First of all, congratulations. You know that feeling is almost about over because that 48-hour rule. But I do want to ask you one thing about that game that I don't, and primarily because she's a Pittsburgh native and we're here in Pittsburgh. Amanda Sauer, she was the first female referee in an FBS game. And can you speak about that in terms of being a part of that sort of history, unbeknownst to a lot of people?
Well, you know, I guess I had an opportunity to meet her when they came over for the pregame discussions and stuff. And, you know, overall, I thought they did a, you know, pretty good job officiating the game, and I thought it flowed very well at times. I thought we had, like all games, you know, there's some questionable calls. You know, we had 2 touchdowns called back in the fourth quarter, which, you know, in my opinion, the game probably shouldn't have gotten to overtime. But I thought she managed the crew very well, and it was a good flowing game. And I thought, for the most part, they did a good job.
And, Coach, now that you have that FBS win under your belt, what kind of confidence has it given your team moving forward as you get set to take on the Golden Hurricane?
Well, this is a different animal, Ty. These boys are good. You know, it was a big win for us, and, you know, I think our confidence level, it's pretty good. And I think we knew going in that we had a chance of having a pretty good football team. And if we can stay healthy, I think we will have a good pretty good football team. But I think the confidence level is pretty high at this point. We just got to go out and play our butts off this week and see if we can get better. And that's the key in this game. You got to get better every week, and I hope our guys understand that and they work towards that.
Hey, Coach, you know, being that you have such a great staff and you've had, you know, success and experience at the University of Florida, how much does that help you in games of this nature when you step up in competition?
Well, you know, it helps a great deal, even because I'm at the age now where I can look back and pull from a lot of experiences that, you know, that we used in the past and a lot of things that we used in the past. But, you know, it's a different ball game in a lot of ways from back in the day, in that the players are different. You know, the offense is a little bit different, defense is a little bit different, you know, but it still comes down to basic, you know. And one of the things that we try to do, Ty, and I think this may be a little different, you know, and I try to get our staff to understand this. In critical time, think players instead of plays. Coach players instead of scheme. And I think what happens a lot of time to all of us is once we get in the flow of the season, we start coaching more schemes than we do people. So we're constantly trying to coach people in our program. And I think that's been very beneficial to us, you know, in the past.
And, Coach, going forward, you know, after you face Tulsa and you get into the MEAC schedule, will you look back and consider how these games that you played thus far will be of help to you as you go through the season?
Well, that was part of our planning this summer, is to use these games to really help us develop as a football team and help us grow as a football team. And, again, the key for us was to get better and play well against Kent State, and then even play even better against the Tulsa team. And, again, that's what you got to do at this league. You got to get better every week, and that's why we're using these games to try to get better as a football team. If we can compete against these people, then hopefully we can compete against most of the teams in our league.
Coach, good luck this weekend. We'll be watching out for you.
Thank you, Ty.
And the next question comes from the line of Mike Washington inside the HBCU Sports Lab radio show. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
All right. Let me also extend a congratulations to you and the team.
Thank you.
It's difficult coming off of a big, emotional, physically fought game. But if you will, I'll ask you to take me into the locker room and the practice virtually if you can, and tell me how do you get your guys not physically but emotionally ready for a Tulsa team that didn't do well against Ohio State, but I think they put up 500 yards, give or take, the week before. So you got a high-powered offense, and I think you had 3 or 4 turnovers this past week. How do you get them off that emotional high and get them ready for a high-powered offense in Tulsa?
Well, actually, we had 4 turnovers last week, and 2 of them led to points. I think they were up on us, 10 points, and the 2 touchdowns. I mean, the touchdown, the field goal was 12 yards.
Correct.
14-yard total offense. But put on the tape, actually, is what you need to do, because Tulsa's good. Those guys, they know what they're doing offensively. They know what they're doing defensively, and they have a lot of good players, at the skill position. They have 2 outstanding receivers. They have an outstanding running back, big physical offensive line. So, we got to work cut out for us. This is a different animal than what we played last week now.
Yeah, and then Tariq Cohen actually carried the bulk of the load for rushing. I know he's not a big guy, and I know that because I've seen him in person. And I'm not a big guy myself, so I kind of put a plug in for the little guys. So is it a plan for him to kind of continue to carry the load not only in this game but throughout the season? I know he's a physically gifted athlete without question, but is that the plan, or is that the plan to kind of spread the offense out a little bit more across different rushers, and maybe go for a little bit more pass option in your game plan?
That's what we're trying to get a couple of our receivers step up and make a couple more plays, because we feel like we have some pretty good athletes out there. And I think if those guys can step up and make some plays for us, then it's just going to make Tyreek even better. And, Tyreek may be small, but he's got a big heart. This kid is a warrior. And when I say warrior, he is a true warrior. And I'm glad he's a part of our football team and football program. But if we can get a couple of receivers step up and make plays, give him a little bit more space in the box, and hopefully he can have a great year for us.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
And our next question comes from the line of Tolly Carr, HBCU Game Day. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach, I just have one question for you. The win over Kent State, I know HBCUs are always trying to improve their resources, get to the point where they can contend for national championships. What does that win do, or what type of direct or indirect effect does it have on your ability to bolster the resources even more at A&T?
Well, like all these teams, we play to help finance our program, and it comes in handy. But it was, it's an experience that I like for our kids to have to plan some of those guys, and we just gotten to the point where we started playing them last year because of lack of scholarships and lack of numbers here. So, but it's something that I think can help us down the road. I think you'll see us playing a lot more of those teams down the road and getting some halfway decent paydays out of it to help improve our program.
And there are no other questions.
Thank you, Coach Broadway, for your time, and good luck this weekend at Tulsa.
Thank you.
North Carolina A&T State will travel to Tulsa on Saturday afternoon. Kickoff is set for 2 p.m., and the contest will be streamed live on ESPN3. We will close out this morning's teleconference with our final head coach and Jerry Mack of North Carolina Central. The Eagles fell on the road at Western Michigan last weekend and will have their first home game of the season as they'll host St. Augustine's on Saturday. Good morning, Coach Mack.
Good morning, Ryan.
How you doing, Coach?
I'm doing well today.
Coach, last week at Western Michigan, which is a very respectable mid-major team and has a Big Ten win, you were down 14 early on, but then you had a solid drive set up by Levante Smith's punt return, and which led to Malcolm Bell's touchdown run. And then those same two players also hooked up in the second quarter for a score. So just talk about their play and what does that do in your offense going from this point?
You know, they always talk about, you know, you make the biggest gains from game 1 to game 2. And, you know, I was really impressed with not only Malcolm's play, but our whole receiver corps play as well. Those guys did a good job of taking on the challenge. Going to play Western Michigan, they played a lot of man coverage, and we were able to, you know, outrun some guys and get behind the defense some throughout the course of the game. I think Malcolm's playing at a really good level right now. I think he's solidifying that he's our leader, and he's doing some really good things out there. And I'm excited about getting him into MEAC competition going forward to see kind of when the competition, you know, the game slows down some, exactly what he's going to be able to do. Levante's had a really good game this past week, and he showed that, you know, he can run by high-level FBS players. And once again, same for him. I'm looking forward to see what he has to offer going forward for the rest of the season.
And on defense, Josiah Daly had 17 tackles. Just talk about his game, and what does he bring to your defense?
You know, Josiah was a young man. He was with us in the spring, and he came to fall camp. He did an excellent job. He was unavailable versus Duke. So, you know, that was actually his first game here at Central, to be honest with you. And to come out in his first college game at Division I level and have those amount of tackles and that kind of productivity, I think it speaks volume for, you know, the future for him is exactly where he's headed and some of the things he can do once he gets a little bit more acclimated to our defense and settled into what we're doing.
And you finally move on from playing FBS teams to your home opener versus St. Augustine's on Saturday. Talk about playing at home for the first time this season and how you approach St. Augustine's from a game plan standpoint.
You know, from a game plan standpoint, we don't approach them any different than how we do any other game. You know, we're going to prepare. We're going to be detailed. We're going to spend long nights trying to game plan and making sure that all our schemes are sound so we can go out there and give our kids the best opportunity to win the football game. Being able to be at home, we've been on the road for a couple of weeks now. Everything has been more of a road game type feel. But to get at home in front of our Eagle crowd and for our Eagle Nation, I think that's going to mean a lot to not only our fans but also to our players. You know, they're ready to showcase what they can do, you know, versus their friends and family.
And where you at in your program in terms of development, could you kind of assess your first 2 games against FBS opponents, and how do you compare that to playing FBS opponents last year?
Yeah, it's just always tough. You know, you don't really ever know. The speed of the game is a lot different playing this caliber opponents that we play. You know, we faced a West Michigan team playing with a Heisman Trophy candidate at the receiver and Duke, you know, very quality Power 5 program. So it's always kind of tough to assess where you kind of fit in. You know, as a program, we're just going to continue to try to build and try to do what's best for us to try to get to that kind of level or get to those facility type deals one day. But overall, you know, it's really hard to tell. But I will say I saw the team get better from game 1 to game 2, and that's the main thing that I was looking for.
Thank you, Coach. That's all the questions I have. We will now open up the call for questions from the media.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. For questions, please press 1-4 on your telephone keypad. We have a question from Wood Williams, Black College Sports Page. Please go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Matt, good morning.
Good morning, Luke.
The way you say your guys improved, and I think you mentioned it when Ryan first asked you, but what were the areas that you saw? I watched the game online, and I know you fell behind early, and your guys fell behind by a great deal early, but your guys kept playing, started to make some plays. What was the one thing you think that you took from that in terms of them playing better?
I think the glaring thing is offensively. I mean, we had almost 300 yards in the first half offensive production. We had got the momentum going into the second half. I think the delay of the Thunder or whatnot, I think it hurt us a little bit from a momentum standpoint. But I think the biggest glaring thing, especially statistics-wise, is just offensively. We came out and executed plays better. We ran the ball a lot better than we did in the previous game. So I think the most glaring thing would be offensive production.
When you see a team like from the conference like A&T get a win over Kent State, what kind of effect or reaction does that get from you guys and your team in terms of playing a Western Michigan or a Duke and the possibility of pulling off those kind of upsets?
I think it gains confidence from not only just us, but everybody in the conference. I mean, it shows your young men that you coach every day that, just because a team may have bigger and better facilities or they may have more scholarship players or whatnot, there's still an opportunity to go into their place and upset them. Not only just North Carolina A&T, there was a lot of teams this past Saturday that, from a facility and from a resource standpoint, they were able to be in games and some even upset some larger opponents. So I think that was just really impressive. But more importantly, A&T, I think they set a tone and they set a statement across the country that an HBCU can beat an FBS program.
Does it? But from a scheduling standpoint, does it make you or you and your folks at Central want to schedule not a Duke, but schedule maybe? I know Kent State is a good program. I know Western Michigan is probably, if you had scheduled them a few years ago, I don't think they had a win over a Big Ten team, perhaps. But does the scheduling come into it in terms of maybe we think about who we want to match up against? But let me put it another way: is getting a win over a Kent State type team more advantageous than a situation where you play maybe somebody that's a little higher in terms of what you take from the game?
Yeah, I think it's all based on, I think each institution was a little bit different. I think it all depends on your resources and finances, exactly kind of where you sit. If you can afford to somewhat play other FCSs, or you can afford to play maybe a non-Power 5 program, I think you're in a really good situation. I mean, and I've always said this, especially at this level, I think everybody has to be on board. It's not, what you see is us going out there on Saturdays as a college football program coaching our kids, but in order for a program to have success, everybody has to be on board. That means from administration on down. So, that's the important part of it. Scheduling is a combination of a lot of things, and if you can do a great job scheduling, you're going to give your team, once again, the chances to be successful on the field on Saturday.
In your 3 years, is this the hardest back-to-back games you've had, Duke and Western Michigan?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. We faced two teams that, one Power 5, obviously, then the other team is probably going to have a chance to go bowling at the end of the year. So it's been a tough 2 weeks, but, it was what it was when we scheduled it. So we just have to move on from there. It's still young in the season, and this has no effect on what our goal is, and that's to win the MEAC championship.
To the degree that you're willing, Coach, can you talk about the health of McLean as well as Mike Jones?
Oh, they're fine. McLean had a little blister or something was going on with his hand on Saturday, so he didn't finish the game out, but he should be fine this week. And Mike Jones, health-wise, he's doing excellent.
Okay, Coach. Good luck, man.
Thank you.
And there are no other questions.
Thank you, Coach Mack, and good luck versus St. Augustine's on Saturday.
Oh, thank you.
North Carolina Central will host St. Augustine's on Saturday. Kickoff is set for 6 p.m., and the contest will be streamed live on NCCUEaglePride.com.